So it was October 2010. It was a brisk morning, and I found myself looking for inspiration down streets that I told that I should not walk down. I was told that they were dangerous. I was told that I could be killed. And I was told that I should just stick to my hotel and then cab it on over to the theater where I was speaking later that day. But very much to who I am as a person, I decided to ignore what everyone else said. And instead, I listened to my gut. And my gut was telling me I needed to explore. So I hit the streets. And the people that I met that day, they changed my life forever. 2 homeless guys, 2 parking attendants, and a shopkeeper. And they all started their conversation with me the same way. They all said, despite what you hear about my town. 5 people from 5 very different backgrounds, and they were all telling me the same exact thing. They were all telling me that they had this deep love for their community, but then they were all telling me that they felt powerless to change it. Want to know what town this was? It was Detroit. But honestly, it could have been anywhere, and it didn't matter which town it was. Those feelings, that same struggle between love and powerlessness, those were the same feelings that I was feeling towards my hometown. Now, I haven't lived in my hometown in years, but I still have this deep love, this deep connection, and this deep, unwavering sense of powerlessness to change the unfortunate circumstances that have overcome this city. And you know what? I know I'm not alone. And neither are these amazing people of Detroit. So, 5 years later, I find myself on this mission, searching for people who feel this powerlessness, people who have felt what I have felt, people who have felt what these 5 people within Detroit have felt. But my journey hasn't ended there. I've also been discovering ways to unlock courage so that people can take back their communities. And I found that it really comes down to 3 simple things: empowering belonging, setting clear, vivid goals, and cultivating co-ownership. So let's talk about belonging for a minute. What exactly does it mean to belong to a community? And how the heck do you empower that? I mean, you can live in a community for 3 years or your entire life, and there is no guarantee that you will actually feel a part of that community. Now, question for you: how many of you have been a part of a community or lived somewhere and felt like you just weren't a part of it? Raise your hands. Yeah, look around. You're not alone. After tons of research, I've discovered that over 70%, now this is over 250 interviews, over 70% of the people we interviewed said that they felt powerless to change their community. And 85% said that they wanted to actually create change in that community. But the fascinating part of this is that 100% said that if they couldn't create change, would at least help to spread the word. I think we're onto something, don't you? Now, community and the sense of belonging, I mean, that really comes from when we're little kids. You know, when we're little kids, we really want to have our voice be heard, but it comes down to mom and dad. Mom and dad dictate really the decisions that you make. You will eat your vegetables. And though, trust me, I had no problem eating anything when I was a little girl. But when we're adults, we now have the power of choice, and we want to exercise this choice. We want a vehicle for it, and we want a seat at the table. And if you are the one bringing people together to the table, then consider bringing people that are a diverse group. This way you can not only have a diverse viewpoint on the root of the problem, but then also on potential solutions. And though people are different, very different, And though conversations can get passionate and they can get raw, there is a common thread that connects us all. And those wonderful people in Detroit were really a great example of that for me. And if you are the one bringing people to the table, consider bringing to the table those that you are trying to help. Mary, her story illustrates this perfectly. So Mary lived a full life, but as it became harder and harder to get around, she eventually needed help even getting to the bathroom. But she was determined to keep her independence. And so she would go and run errands, and she would take the bus to the grocery store, and she would ride her little red scooter down Main Street to get downtown. Now, the problem with that was that in order to get to downtown on Main Street, she would have to dart into the middle of the road, and cars would be whizzing by her. And this was because there were no ramps on the sidewalk curbs. And so this is really scary for this little old lady on this red scooter just trying to get to her downtown. So she called up the city. And the solution? Well, they decided to run the bus to downtown. But the problem is that they would go all the way to the outskirts of town first and then loop back around to downtown, which took an extra hour instead of the 10 minutes that it would take to go up Main Street. And so though there was this solution, it wasn't actually getting to the heart of the problem. Mary, her friends, and other members of the community really just wanted safe passage down their Main Street to the center of their town. The city officials thought that this was the best solution, but honestly, it didn't get to the heart of the matter. And this happens all the time. We do this on a daily basis. We make assumptions. We make decisions without really deeply understanding what the root issues are, and without listening to the people who are desperately trying to reach out and have their voices heard. The second piece of this is creating clear, vivid goals. So you're able to bring people together. That's fantastic. But what is it that you're actually trying to change? And probably even more importantly, how are you measuring that change? Well, we want to beautify our city and pick up trash. That's great. That's a noble goal. The problem with it, though, is that it's too vague. And so people don't really know what they're striving for. Instead, consider something like, we want 2 sustainable solutions, both under $500, that are going to get 90% of the trash off of Main Street and into trash receptacles by September 12, 2015 at 12 p.m. What this does is that it gives you a time frame. And then also, it allows you to vividly imagine that trash being picked up off the streets and being put in trash receptacles. How many of you can start to see that occur? Yeah. The final, and probably the most critical element of all of this, and probably the hardest, is cultivating co-ownership. How can we create something that not only shows people the good work that is going on, but also allows them to help contribute to this? You know, when we think about the definition of community, and we look it up, it says a group of people living in one place, especially practicing ownership. Community members want this ownership, but it has to come with transparency and peer accountability. One of the biggest obstacles that really holds communities back are their complex systems and infrastructures. You know, they may have great programs going on, but it's really hard to either find out more information or to get involved. You know, so someone might be really excited about it, but then as they try to navigate through this process, it's just so difficult and so inundating. And what happens? People end up just giving up. These complex structures are a huge roadblock and need to be dismantled. If a first grader cannot describe the process, then I highly recommend simplifying it. Instead of something that is so confusing and complex, why not a simple, open source structure that not only shows people what is going on and who is handling it and when that's due, but also gives them clear entry points to have their voices heard and to contribute. A flexible infrastructure that grows with the community and with technological changes. This is the key to long-term success. And when you're creating this flexible infrastructure, incorporate peer accountability, even if it's just accountability partners. What this does is that it creates opportunities for people to touch base more frequently so that they feel like they're not alone and they have that external boost that they need in order not only to get what they need done, but to know that they're part of something that is bigger. In 1960, a general practitioner and the head of medicine at the University of Oklahoma were having a beer. Now, the GP said to the head of medicine that heart disease was much less prevalent in the town of Rosetto than within its neighbor Bangor. And so this little conversation actually sparked a ton of research. Now, Rosetto was a town of about 1,600 Italian Americans, and there were at least 3 generations living in every single house. So that sense of community was really tight. And so researchers came on into Rosetto really trying to understand the reasons why heart disease was so much less prevalent there than in Bangor. Was it their diet? Nope, they had similar diets. Was it genes? No, Rosetto, Italian American community, and other Italian American communities were around the national average. Was it their physical environment? No, there was really no significant difference between Rosetto and any of its neighboring towns. So this research went on for about 5 years. And the results surprised everyone. Do you want to know what it was? It was Rosetto's sense of community. It was Rosetto's sense of belonging and co-ownership of that community that actually made it healthier than any of its neighboring towns. Now, I don't know about you, but I will take that over jogging any day. Community and this sense of belonging, it's really what you make of it. You can sit there and wait to be empowered, or you can be out there sharing your voice and bridging the gap between like-minded individuals. You can feel powerless and complacent about what is going on around you, or you can be boosting morale and helping others to find their voice and taking ownership of their communities. Remember Mary? Little Mary on her little red scooter? Yeah. Mary chose community. She chose power. She brought together members of her community, and together they created a cost-effective solution that brought ramps to the sidewalks down Main Street. And you know what? The city listened. And now, everyone who needs safe access, whether they're little kids on bikes or those who are handicapped or even little old ladies on red scooters, they all have safe access, thanks to Mary and her courage. Now, Mary was just one person, but she knew that it took a community to create sustainable, impactful change. She knew that she had to start that conversation, and she knew that she had to empower others to find their voices. There is a little bit of Mary in each of us. We just have to be vulnerable enough to not only see it, but embrace it. Now, Mary was a powerful example in my life. I mean, not only was she an incredible woman, but she was also my grandmother. Find your Mary. Find your muse, your beacon of light. Find what is going to give you the courage to find your voice, to find your power. And when you do, encourage others to find theirs and to take back their communities. Inspire empowerment, inspire transparency, inspire accountability. This way, together, we can create something special. As Socrates once said, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old. Build something new. Build something new. Build something you can be proud of. Just do it alongside your neighbor. This way, we together can build something that is much bigger than ourselves and that we can all be proud of. And this way, it doesn't only change the way that we live, but how we live together. Thank you.